Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Mindful Meeting Podcast. I'm your host, King Abu. Today is one of those episodes where we have mixed feelings because, on one hand, we are extremely grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal for having given us the opportunity to have experienced and lived through another blessed month of Ramadan. But at the same time, we're also saddened because that blessed Ramadan has briskly left us, longing for the next Ramadan to come past, inshallah ta'ala. But we're here to talk today, talking about how fasting impacts our lives and inshallah deepens our connections and relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, and also how we engage with our own bodies. Because as you know, fasting is not just abstaining from food and water and the things that Allah has made haram for us during the daytime, but really Ramadan fasting in and of itself is an institution and a school that teaches you discipline, devotion, dedication, commitment, patience, and humility. All of those are, I think, lessons we drive from just a small act of fasting, right? So today, inshallah, our aim is to discuss our personal experiences, the challenges we've had along the way, and any moments of clarity or epiphany moments that we've had regarding Islam or life or whatever the case may be due to fasting. And joining me in this conversation are my two beloved cousins, who I will hand over the mic to so they can introduce themselves. Brother Muhammad, go ahead.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum everybody. Thank you for having me, bro. I'm Hamid. I'm King Abu's cousin for all those who don't know. And I'm just an aspiring Shia Muslim who's trying to do his best to live up to the standards of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Nothing else really much for me to say other than that. But I'm so glad to be here and can't wait to discuss Ramadan with everybody today.
Ahsant, and Sam here. Saleh, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Hello, guys. My name is Saleh. First, I'd like to say thank you for having me, Abu. It's been it is an honor to show up on this podcast again. My name is Saleh Muhammad, and I am a poet, a writer. I like to consider myself an everyday philosopher. My work can be found on Spotify. It can be found on YouTube. One of my award-winning poems is called Where I Come From. It's on YouTube. If anyone wants to listen to it, I would search it up. It's pretty insightful. Once again, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you. I love the way you introduce yourself as an everyday philosopher. I love that.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I think when it comes to philosophy, a lot of people, there might be a stigma around it that means you have to be like this wise scholar who's always lost in the books. But philosophy to me is just like the study of everyday interactions with the world in general and all facets of the world. So that whether that's religion, whether that's your day-to-days, but really it's all just about thinking deeper on all of our actions and thinking deeper on the causes and effects that, ultimately surround the rules of the world.
Ahsant. I like that, thinking deeply. On that note, I'm going to actually steal that line from you, thinking deeply about the actions that we do on a daily basis. That's actually a good segue to jump right into our conversation. But before we do that, Brother Muhammad, if you could honor us by making a short, small dua for our brothers and sisters and fellow all over the Muslim Ummah. I was going to say Palestine, but I noticed there's almost always an emphasis on only Palestine, but when there's oppression going on all over the Muslim Ummah. So if you don't mind, make a dua for us, for all the Muslim brothers and sisters of ours around the world who are being approached by the enemies.
Sure. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. ربنا انصر مسلمين في كل مكان، خاصة إخواننا في فلسطين ولبنان وجميع المسلمين في كل مكان. Oh Allah Azza wa help every single oppressed individual on this planet, please, Ya Rabbi, especially our Muslim brothers around the world, brothers and sisters around the world, and grant them and shower upon them patience and devotion to you, Ya Rabbil Alameen.
Allahumma ameen. Thank you so much for that beautiful and heartfelt dua. I really appreciate it. Right, inshallah, Allah accepts our dua and our a'mal, inshallah. We'll jump right into it. You know how we start the show. I'm going to ask you a riddle. Go ahead, you folks. We're going to jump right into it after the riddle. Grab your cup of coffee or tea, whatever works for you. For me, you already know. It's Somali tea. I have it.
My water.
Okay. For Muhammad, is his water. It's going to be a long conversation, a fruitful, insightful conversation. So let's get right into it. Here's the riddle, guys. I am a time of self-control, a time to reflect, a time to listen to your soul and to respect. I can be a challenge or a path to find, but I require focus and an open mind. What am I?
Fasting.
Hey, come on, man. Philosopher, I had my money bet on you, bro.
I let him take it. I let him take
You
it.
let him take it. I love it. Speaking of fasting, bro, how's Ramadan been, man?
I was gonna say, man, Ramadan has been a blast. It's just been like every Ramadan. I know we all make Ramadan goals and everything, and this year I was trying to focus more on just going with the flow kind of mentality, not have too many goals.
Okay.
Just the kind of regular, you know. And alhamdulillah, that approach I think has been helpful.
MashaAllah.
So I would say this year Ramadan has been very smooth. The fasting hasn't been too hard for me personally. I feel like Allah Azza wa Jal, He showers extra mercy on the believers during Ramadan where it's like a breeze. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So from the fasting aspect, it hasn't been hard and just really been enjoying it.
I got you. What about you, Saleh?
Yeah, I like what you said there about the showering. It has, for me, fasting this Ramadan has been, just like Muhammad said, a breeze. As far as the abstaining from the food and the water, I will say that spiritually, it has been a little bit more difficult just because of the distractions that come with, you know, your personal life and then everything that's happening in the world right now. So there's a lot of, to say, or for lack of better words, I feel like the shaitan has been in full force around me this Ramadan.
Wow, okay.
So it has been very difficult to maintain a, you know, pious mind while going through my fasts.
That is interesting because it is commonly believed in the Muslim world, right? That this is the 1 month that Satan and his soldiers have been locked up. SubhanAllah, it's interesting. But no, I'm actually on the same lines of Saleh. It's been one of the less spiritually fulfilling Ramadan for me this year. I don't know what happened. Even despite the prayers, the fasting, and whatnot, I didn't feel like that connection with Allah like I have felt in past Ramadans.
I hear you.
I don't know if that's what you were talking about, Saleh, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I don't know what has happened.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's the beauty about Ramadan, isn't it? Every year is
Yeah.
just a different experience. What comes to mind for me is the hadith where the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, says, right, and his family, where he says, there are days when, you know, your spiritual energies are going to be very charged up and you feel rejuvenated. So on those days, do more of what is required of you. So that way on the day you're kind of feeling lethargic, a little bit not so spiritually energized, then just do the bare minimum that's required. Do you guys feel like Ramadan is almost kind of like that? One Ramadan you are just on top of the mountain, spiritually charged up, and other Ramadans maybe you're like, oh man, why am I not feeling connected with Allah, you know?
Perhaps, yeah. I'm sure for a lot of people it can be that way. Maybe because we go into it with like these expectations.
Ooh, okay.
We're like, okay, it's Ramadan, so it must be I'm just going to magically feel something. Like it's once I enter this month, all of a
I
sudden I have
love
this
it.
energy I didn't even know, you know. But I think Ramadan is it's more of like just putting you in an environment that is nurturing you, kind of like bringing out a side of you that you didn't really know was there, and then it's up to you to kind of figure out how that like impacts your life. It's not necessarily. I don't think spirituality is always just. I feel like I want to make du'a more in Ramadan, or I read more Quran in Ramadan. It could be maybe you're reflecting on Allah Azza wa Jal more in Ramadan than you do outside of Ramadan.
Wow.
It
Okay.
could be that you go to the masjid more, not because of prayer, but because you're like, I want to be around the brothers and sisters more. So it's just, I think sometimes we get trapped in the idea that we expect spirituality to look a certain way in Ramadan,
I
when
like
in
that.
reality it doesn't necessarily look that way.
Okay, have less expectations and just go with the flow, so to speak, of the spiritual journey of Ramadan and just see where it takes you.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Instead of searching for a profound experience,
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
that.
wow, that's so true.
Yeah.
Because even in basketball, right, they say let the game to come to you, right? Play to the what the defense gives you, or something like this. Wow. Okay, I love that. Okay. All right, so let's jump right into it. Now, in every day, in every part of life, we have memories that stick out to us more than anything, right? We have childhood memories. Maybe there was one event in our childhood that stands out to us more than other events, right? Or a job that we've had, or a career path that, or our from our marriage journey or parenting journey, whatever the occasion is, there are some memories that just stand out to us than the other times, right? When it comes to Ramadan, is there one Ramadan experience or one Ramadan that stand out to you guys more than any other Ramadan?
Yeah, I've actually have a really, really interesting story to tell you guys. I'm sure I've told you before, both you Muhammad and Abu, but I'll tell it again. This actually took place last Ramadan. Um, so I guess I should preface this with saying that Ramadan has been a difficult challenge, or fasting has been a difficult challenge for me my entire life. Um, I can't remember, aside from last year, one Ramadan where I went the entire Ramadan making, or completing a fast the entire month. Okay, but last year I was on a spiritual journey, so to speak. Ramadan came about, and I was searching for repentance and God's love. Okay, and so I made a du'a the night before Ramadan started, and in the du'a, I asked Allah for forgiveness for my lack of worship, so to speak, and devotion, and I also asked for blessing in the form of willpower and strength to be able to complete Ramadan for the first time completely. And I was in my bed and I was laying down and I made this dua. Eyes closed, all that jazz, getting really deep into my mind. And when I completed my dua, I experienced something that to this day still sometimes gives me like shocks me. I felt a physical reaction in my stomach that kind of, if I had to describe it, I would say something grabbed my stomach and just like tightened it. But with that feeling, I felt like I then had the willpower to fast. And then, believe it or not, the month of Ramadan for the first time was a breeze. I didn't have any temptation to eat, drink, none of that. And the crazy thing is, I was working full time at the time, sometimes with overtime hours, and I was always on the road constantly. But usually, the roadblocks that I would have that would cause me to break my fast early, or just completely ignore fasting, or sneak out to the back and enjoy, a cup of water or something. Well, all those temptations and all those distractions were gone. Um, so yeah, that was probably my most memorable Ramadan experience.
Wow. Man, I commend you for that.
I appreciate it.
That's wonderful, bro. That is pretty. I cannot even come close to that. I mean, that is super dope. That is super dope, bro. I remember you telling me that, and I remember thinking, Subhanallah. It's like, so many Muslims, they make prayers, and they sometimes have this notion that their dua gets answered immediately. This is one of those where you could almost say your dua was answered immediately.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's so super dope to see. For me, my greatest Ramadan was probably, if I had to pick, it's probably when I first joined the Shia school. Only because I think the first year as a Shia, aspiring Shia, I felt the closest, most spiritual version of myself. And because of that, like my Ramadan felt even more. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think Ramadan is just kind of exposes you in a way to what's already inside. And in that moment, I already entered Ramadan feeling spiritual boosted just because of all the journey I went through and the conversion and all that stuff, which is a whole different episode, obviously. But just that, I think the energy of like, wow, I just discovered Ahlul Bayt in a deep, profound way. It just supercharged my Ramadan. And it's not necessarily one day or anything. It's just the whole month just felt absolutely I just loved it. That was my favorite Ramadan, I could say.
I just want to go back to what Saleh said. That really touched me is you typically don't hear Muslims expressing outwardly their love for Allah or saying that I'm searching for Allah's love, right? Usually we hear, I want Allah's forgiveness, I want to make tawbah, I want to get close to Allah, stuff like this, right? But very seldom do we hear the word love and Allah used by Muslims, typically, at least from my experience. But then that night, Salah is saying that, he was searching, he said, for repentance and God's love, he said, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
That is so profound because I could even argue, and I'm not trying to speak on behalf of God, a'udhu billah, but you said it almost feels like his dua was answered instantly. I could just hear the sincerity in that dua, that he's like conflicted with all this guilt inside of him. Ya Allah, I do want to worship you. I want to fast. I want to do all of these things, but all these distractions, the whispers of shaitan gets in the way and whatnot. But please, here I am lying down, on my bed. Please, I need you. I need your love. I need your acceptance, your approval, your forgiveness. Come through for me, right? Yeah. I'm paraphrasing what his dua was.
You paraphrased. I felt like you were reading my mind for a second. Like, right? It kind of went just like that.
Yeah, bro, trust me. Wallah, I've been there before. I know that feeling. That's why it hit me. It resonated. Man, kudos to you, man.
I appreciate that.
I do believe Allah's love is a lifelong journey. It's not something that you can say, oh, I fall in love with Allah, khalas, I'm done. No, it's like a spousal love, right? You never like really reach the climax of your wife or your husband's love, right? It grows every day. And that's why you say, man, I love you today more than I ever did, right? And I feel like Allah, this journey of love to Allah, it's similar to that. That yes, you may finally fall in love with him, but that's just like the beginning. It doesn't stop there, right? So kudos to you guys, man. For me, I would say the Ramadan that stands out the most to me is when I was in Nebraska.
Nebraska? Oh, I thought you were going to go 2020.
No. Nebraska was something else. It taught me some profound lessons that Ramadan, because at the time when I was married to Amina, my two boys, they all left me to go to California to be, with my sister. Yes. From there, I think they were going to go to Michigan to actually have Eid there, I think. I don't remember the full story, but I know they left me. And I was in Nebraska, I swear to Allah, surrounded by a bunch of white people. We were the only black family there and the only Muslim family there. My wife at the time, every time she stepped out the house, bro, everybody was staring at her like, have you guys never seen Muslims before? And it hit me like they probably never have, maybe just on television or something. And it would make, my wife then, very comfortable, or uncomfortable rather. So in that environment, I was all alone, feeling very lonely. And it was Ramadan. But it was then that I discovered we are truly never alone. Allah is with us all the time. Wallahi, it was so difficult having, iftar by yourself in a foreign place by yourself. You don't have anyone to say, may Allah accept your fast or hand you a date or nothing, by myself. And I was like, some nights I had tears in my eyes, feeling all lonely and everything. But it was that hardship, that loneliness that Allah really showed up for me, as if like He's not there all the time, right? Like He showed up for me that moment and said, Abdul Mahdi, I'm here. I've always been here. Even when you were in the womb of your mom, when nobody knew anything about you, I was there sustaining you. I'm always here. And that's when I realized we're never truly alone in our journey, as long as we are in this world.
Bro, kind of a side note, you know what you made me think of? You made me think of Imam Mahdi,
Allah.
in a way, because one thing that always kind of, I just think about it sometimes, like, what is Imam Mahdi's daily life like? Does he feel very lonely?
Ooh.
We always talk about from our perspective, but how about him? What does he feel on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's another topic on of itself, but that's a great question,
Yeah,
bro.
but what you said about feeling Allah Azza Wa's presence, what I realized is after listening to a couple of lectures and stuff, Imam Mahdi has Allah Azza wa Jal. He has a relationship with Allah that is so deep and profound that loneliness probably feels less lonely because he has God. Yeah, it just goes to show that having Allah Azza wa Jal truly, you almost feel like you don't feel lonely because you have Him. So it's a level to reach for sure.
Yes, sir, I know. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, man. Imam Mahdi, we can only imagine what he goes through, right? Subhanallah.
Yeah, I was thinking, I always ask myself, what is this man doing in Nebraska, out of all places?
It was an interesting pit stop, if you will, in my life. But you know what? Alhamdulillah, that's also, believe it or not, when I learned the art of selling. I didn't have a job at that time and I was desperate and I got to be a provider to take care of my family. And I'm like, man, I need to get a job. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to get to put bread on the table for my family. So one afternoon, us four, we were just going for a walk around the block. And I came across this store that was selling cell phones. And I just said, hey, are you guys hiring? They said, yeah, we're always hiring. I said, bet. He said, have you ever sold phones? I'm like, I never sold nothing in my life. He said, okay, no worries. I'll train you. And if we'll give you a try. If you're a good salesman, if you know what you're doing, you'll be all right. Muhammad Saleh, let me tell you something. Wallahi, I kid you not. In 3 months, I was so thirsty and hungry for that knowledge, the art of selling. In 3 months, he wanted me to be the manager of the store.
In 3 months.
In 3 months, wallahi, I kid you not. That's because I discovered that we are all salespeople, bro. Think about it. As a man, when you approach a woman, what are you doing when you're asking her out?
You're selling yourself.
Ahsan. Exactly, you are selling yourself, right? When you want to build a masjid, for instance, and you go to the community and you say, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to start raising funds and stuff. What are you doing?
You're selling to the community.
Yes, you're selling that idea to the community. We are constantly selling things or people or products, bro. Once I discovered that, I said, man, I want to master this art of selling. And my coach, my manager then, he was so awesome, man. He gave me all the training I need to succeed. And in 3 months, the results showed. But that was definitely the time, the Ramadan that stands out the most to me. But as we talk about our relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, how does fasting deepen your connection or your relationship with Allah compared to other acts of worship, right? Especially when you think about salah, for example, Allah says in Quran, "Inna salati tanhay anil fahsha wal munkar," right? Or we see in the hadith books that the Holy Prophet says that Salah is the Amud al-Din, right? Is the pillar and the foundation of the faith. So when you think about all these other great amal, sadaqah, for instance, right? How is fasting like? Is it different? And how does it deepen our connections and relationship with Allah?
Actually, that's a it's a really good question, Abu. Interestingly enough, it seems to me like fasting is one of the I can't say it's the only way, but it's one of the ways where Allah asks us for more faith in Him while simultaneously taking something away from us. In the way that, hey, imagine someone says, I'm going to take away your food and water, but you got to love me more, or you got to trust me more, or you got to have faith in me more. So, if somebody says something like that to you normally, you'd probably be like, that's nonsense, right? But it's almost like a challenge and a test to our faith and our commitment to Allah. And while working that out for yourself, I feel like in that way it strengthens, your faith.
Wow, that is definitely profound. Yeah, that is. I never thought of fasting that way. Subhanallah.
Yeah, fasting compared to the other acts, it has its own uniqueness to it. Prayer, sadaqah, hajj, ziyarah, all these different a'mal that we do. Fasting is one of those that I would say really brings out your self-discipline in a unique way, because as humans, the one thing that all human beings share is the need for food and water. So even non-Muslims, sometimes when you tell them we're about to go 30 days without having no food or water for maybe 18 hours a day, and you're going to be doing that for 30 days straight, and you're doing it simply, like you said, bro, the test of it to prove to Allah Azza wa Jal that you're a slave and He's the master. And He wants to see if you're going to obey Him or not. I think it's a unique test, and it brings out that self-discipline more than the other.
Ahsant. Saleh, man, I really love what you said, bro. It's like you said, the only act where Allah takes something from you, but He still wants you to even love Him more per se, or be faithful to Him even more. Because when you look at Salah, for instance, you can argue at most the only thing is taken away is your time, right? But then what about sadaqah? Because Allah is asking you to give away your money or your property, right?
That's what sadaqah as well, I would say. You don't have to give as much as people think. It's telling you to give half of your wealth every time or something. A lot of times there's only a few wajibs sadaqah that you must do. And for most people, they can afford it.
That's true. I would say, though, the value that the most basic human need for food and water outweighs the value of currency. You know what I mean? You can always go and work and get some more money, but if you don't eat, that's nutrients, that's a life force essentially that you're abstaining from for the sake of your higher being.
Yeah, subhanallah. This is good stuff, man. This is good stuff. So going back to Salah, Saleh, I don't know why I keep calling you Salah. You talked about earlier your dua to Allah, right? Speaking about deepening our connections and relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously one of the ways to do that is dua, and we know the power of dua, right? So much so that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny said that dua is silahul mu'min, right? Dua is the weapon of the believer. So this weapon that we possess, all of us, this dua, where Allah even encourages us to do so by saying, ad'uni astajib lakum, call unto me and I'll answer you. And then inshallah, He answers our call. So all of this to say that there are certain parts, certain days throughout the year where you could say dua is even more likely to be answered than other days, right? Obviously, sincerity and all those things play into it. So I guess where I'm going with this is, with all of that said, what role do you guys think du'as play, especially in this blessed month of Ramadan?
Dua, bro, in Ramadan, again, going back to what I was saying in the beginning, it plays the same role that it plays outside of Ramadan. Sometimes I think we complicate what dua really is. Dua is you pouring your heart out to your creator. It could be in a time of need. It could be you just want to talk and just praise him. It could be you want to get something off your chest. And Ramadan, the only thing again is it fuels you to maybe make more dua. Because, for example, we have certain du'as in the month of Ramadan that are recited more frequently. The likes of, Dua Joshan al-Kabir. A lot of us won't recite it outside of the month of Ramadan. Dua Abu Hamza, for example. Really long du'as, all of a sudden we're reciting it. Maybe in the Laylatul Qadr nights and stuff like that. So I guess from that aspect, we're more likely to do dua in Ramadan because of the energy that Ramadan brings. But the beauty of dua is, like you said, it's your weapon. Even in dua Kumar, what does Imam Ali alayhi salam say? He says that this slave of yours, his tears is his weapon towards you, Ya Rabbil Alameen.
وَسِلَاحُهُ الْبُكَاء.
وَسِلَاحُ الْبُكَاء. And I think that is the idea of dua. That this is your way of quote unquote fighting. This is your way of gaining strength in the battlefield. The battlefield of what? The battlefield against yourself, your own desires, the battlefield with dealing with the outside world. Dua is your way of saying, Ya Rabbi, I know you're there. I know you're watching me. Please give me the strength. Or, Ya Rabbi, thank you. Just anything, just your personal interactions with your Lord. I would say that's dua.
Yeah, to bounce off of what Muhammad said and what you were saying about the weapon and what Muhammad said about your form of communication with Allah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, guys. I agree 100%. We use dua inside and outside of Ramadan. We use it to foster that relationship, to open a line of communication, to ask and to receive Allah's blessings. And the only thing that I can say is during our outside of Ramadan, when life is full of distraction, when you're going about everything almost kind of like on a drone basis, for lack of better words. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you eat lunch, you do all these things step by step by step in a algorithm that's already based for you. During Ramadan, you kind of have to slow all of it down. And then you're taking out two of the main things that you usually, you give a lot of time to. And then you're replacing it with a dedicated time to make dua. So I think during Ramadan, your du'as are a lot stronger, but not because it's Ramadan, but because you have less going on. You've slowed yourself down and you're dedicating more.
Ahsant, ahsant. With the rise of information, we are in the age of information right now, and we are learning about different forms of fasting, right? Intermittent fasting. Have you guys noticed in how your body feels though during fasting?
Man, so exhausted. Food and the water isn't that hard for me, but one thing that is energy. I think every Ramadan, or probably the last couple of Ramadans specifically, I get really tired. My naps definitely go up. And obviously, because we're having to have iftar late, you end up, your sleep schedule changes probably during Ramadan, those who wake up for suhoor. So I think it's all of that combined that I think that's harder for me than the food and the drink. It's the tiredness.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Have you guys seen like besides the exhaustion, obviously, like, do you feel like more clear-headed? Do you concentrate more, or is just I'm just tired, bro?
I say I agree that obviously you will be a lot more tired, just because again you're lacking energy from your nutrients and stuff like that. One thing that I've noticed that's probably changed physically in my body is um, since I'm no longer eating 3 meals a day and drinking as much water as I do usually. You only have so much time to eat and drink at night if you want to get a good night's rest. Um, I feel like the portions that I eat have become smaller simply because, you know, your stomach kind of like expands and shrinks as with the amount of food that you're normally eating. So if you're eating a lot, your stomach's going to expand. If you're eating a little, your stomach will shrink down. So that's kind of something interesting that I've noticed within myself. Whereas I used to be able to eat 2 foot-long subs, now I'll only eat like half of one. So I've also, surprisingly enough, I think I've been getting better sleep fasting. So
I definitely have more dreams, or at least I remember my dreams at night. Way more. I don't know what it is.
What do you dream about? Food?
No, just you know how dreams are, bro. Just the most randomest stuff. But I normally don't remember my dreams as vividly, but during Ramadan, for some reason,
yeah, you know what's interesting, guys? When I'm not fasting and I get hungry, my mind won't let go of the idea of I need to get some food in me. Man, I'm so hungry. Like I'll be like, man, I'm so hungry. Oh, I gotta go to the kitchen. I gotta make something to eat. Da da da. With Ramadan, it's like, man, I'm so hungry. Just gotta wait till iftar.
It's like no
just
choice.
To let it go.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing about it. Let it go.
True. That is very true. You don't become obsessive with that thought and you just live on it,
Would you say, bro, it's because it kind of, you take the power away from it, considering you're like, look, I know I have to wait till iftar, so I'm not going to waste my time and energy allowing my mind to just wander. Oh, no, I mean, imagine what I could eat and all that stuff. You're just like, you just have to wait till iftar and you just move on.
Yeah, to this is kind of like a different topic, but when you're hungry as heck, for lack of better words, and you smell all the delicious foods, and your stomach starts rumbling, and you tell yourself, "Hey, you know what?" It's kind of like a delayed gratification, a little psychology. When you delay your gratification and you finally have that gratification, it's 1,000 times better. So when you bite down into your first sambusi, your bajio, whatever you're eating, and you just feel the crunch in your mouth, and your taste buds hit, you're just like, oh man, I'm so glad I waited.
I love that delayed gratification. I don't think I've ever associated that terminology to fasting.
That's so true.
Wow.
We don't really use that term, but it is.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Fasting, bro, Allah, it's about discipline. It's about commitment and patience. Because delayed gratification requires an insane amount of patience.
And Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about we love instant gratification, تحبون العاجلة. You guys love the quick. You guys love that quick. And subhanAllah, you're right. That's another beauty thing about fasting. Thank you, bro, for that reminder. I mean, it's literally training you to delay your gratification. We always talk about it from like, oh, you're abstaining from food and drink, to think about the poor, but it's also training you to exactly what you said. Like, the food tastes so much better when you fast the whole day compared to, taking it for granted.
It makes you so much more grateful for the blessing of food that you receive, And it's kind of crazy. It's really interesting that fasting it's almost like a worldwide practice. Some other religions and cultures do it as well. Buddhists, for example, one of the core principles of Buddhism is fasting. They don't, when they're doing their diligent trainings and their meditations, they abstain from the food and water. I mean, I think the Buddha, he one of the stories that were told about him was how he meditated under a tree for X amount of days. I don't remember. It was like a week or 2 weeks or something like that. It might have been longer. Forgive me for not knowing the actual amount of time, but it was a long time where he abstained from where he was fasting while meditating under that tree for the sake of reaching enlightenment. In the same way, when we fast as Muslims, it's not just for, so the food tastes better at the end of the night. It's also for the wisdom, the the willpower, and whatever else we seek to gain from Allah for for committing to that fast.
Yeah. Do you guys think Ramadan has changed the way you guys view things like water, food, or any other daily blessings?
That's one of the main themes, I would say. Again, going back to what Saleh was saying about gratefulness, just gratitude. It's one of the common themes people take from Ramadan. But it's subhanAllah, there's a verse in the Quran where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ الذَّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind them. That reminder is beneficial for the believer. And no matter how many Ramadans we do, the reminder that there's people out there who the simple basic need that we all have don't have access to this, and you take it for granted 11 months out of the year. You're always reminded in Ramadan, don't take this for granted. It's so humbling. It just brings you down to earth. It allows you to connect with those less fortunate. And it elevates, it opens up a whole world of gratitude that you probably most of the time don't even think about.
Yeah, it really does. Go ahead, Saleh.
It makes me realize something very interesting. Although we need food and water, we don't need as much as we think we need. I remember I was reading something, and it was, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was one of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. And he was saying essentially how when you're eating, you shouldn't eat till you're full. You should only eat till you're not hungry again. And so that always, every Ramadan, I remember this because it's funny. I was talking to another Muslim out in the street, and he was asking me about Ramadan. He was saying so, how's your Ramadan going? Yada, yada. I'm like, man, it's going good. I'm losing weight. And he said, what? You losing weight? Everybody else is getting fatter. How are you losing weight? And I'm like, we eat as much as we want. We eat more than we probably our stomachs can handle. We go to bed feeling so full and bloated. But I feel it's weird because I don't think that's, the point. I don't think we're supposed to even get to that point. We're only supposed to eat till we're not hungry anymore. And when you eat to that degree where you're so bloated and you go to bed, you wake up feeling like crap too. And so my relationship with food, or how I view food, always changes in Ramadan because I'm constantly reminded you don't need as much as you think you need. Just, be humble, accept what you have, don't overeat. And in that way, when you wake up for suhoor, there'll be leftovers too.
Less cooking, right? Some people cook sahur too. That's crazy.
Some people cook sahur?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Back about 15 or so years ago,
Yeah.
We used to make sahur, but it wasn't like grand stuff. One of the things that we liked, and my mom used to make this for us, she would just make white rice, just plain white rice. And then once it's cooked and everything, we pour milk and sugar into it, we stir it up, and we eat it. It was deliciousness. But it's just, to your point, bro, I'm going to pick on your father. One of the things he taught me, and this is one of the most unbelievably consistent thing about his life that I can speak to, is that not did he only teach me, but he lived by this. And he said, think about this, Abdul Mahdi. in Ramadan, we can literally survive on just one meal, iftar. So it just shows that we can survive on one meal. And Uncle Hassan, your daddy, Saleh, used to tell me all the time, why are we eating all this much food? We don't need to. And Ramadan is the proof of it. We only have one meal for iftar the whole day, and then we do the same thing 24 hours later, have one meal for iftar. And I have seen your father for as long as I have been around him for over 20 something years. This man has never ate more than one meal in all the years I've known him. I've seen him.
You mean during Ramadan only?
Outside of the whole year, that was his lifestyle. I've never seen Uncle Hassan eat two meals ever in a day. I'm dead serious, bro. Now he's gonna drink coffee from Fajr time all the way till midnight. He's drinking coffee
Okay.
nonstop. But I've never seen him eat two meals in my life.
Wow. I did not know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty spot on. It's pretty spot on.
You know, next time you go see your pops, bro, ask him, is this true? Abu is saying that he's never seen you eat more than two meals. Ask him and let me know what he says to you, bro. I'm telling you.
I got you. I got you.
Now, Ramadan has many blessings, bro, right? One of the things I think Saleh alluded to earlier is that it helps you to slow down a little bit, unwind, right? We live in a world is now. It has to happen now. I need this. I need to get it now, bro. That's supposed to be like in Jannah. You want something, you get it right away, right? And it's not supposed to work like that in dunya. But this blessed month in Ramadan, it kind of pauses you, right? And say, hey, slow down. Take a pause. And can you guys speak to that, experience?
Yeah. Physiologically, I'll say with the lack of food and water running through you naturally have lower energy levels, and in that way, everything kind of is forced to slow down. Now, I know there are some people who are extremely talented, football players, soccer players, sports athletes, who will continue to stay on their regimen even while they're fasting. But I think for the layman, the normal person, because of that lack of energy, we kind of naturally slow down. And on top of that, we're also what's the word I'm looking for? Inspired to be more insightful during this month. So we're kind of like pushed in the direction of deeper thinking. We're pushed in the direction of critical thinking. We're pushed in the direction of introspection and questioning, that kind of stuff. And so you can't do that when you're always on the go. You have to slow down. So now you're slowing down because your body naturally doesn't have the energy, and now you're slowing down because you want to look deeper into the world. So you got two forces. You're slowing down on two sides. Like I said, you're lacking energy, and you're wanting to achieve a result that you can only achieve if you're slowing down.
I think that's part of the whole idea of taqwa. Is if taqwa is your ability to recognize Allah Azza wa Jal in every moment, then fasting, the whole reason Allah Azza wa Jal prescribed fasting on us is for us to increase in taqwa. So based off of that, I would completely agree with you, bro, that it slows down, like your mind slows down, I guess in the definition of like focus. Like you are now, instead of rushing into things, you are now being more deliberate. You're more conscious of your behavior, which is what fasting was prescribed for.
Let me give you an example, Mo. So there's this in Zen Buddhism, they have this thing called the monkey mind. Okay, and the monkey mind is like a metaphor or a figure of speech to say for lack of better words, where they say there's a monkey in your mind that's constantly swinging from tree to tree. Swinging from tree to tree, branches, vines, and it's going zip, 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 zip like a fly, and they tell you to slow down your mind and calm that monkey so that you can have clearer thoughts and clearer focus. I think Ramadan and fasting innately helps us to calm that monkey, for lack of better words, so that we can achieve that inner focus.
That's what Ramadan is, right? Focus and commitment and discipline, right? And in a way, when I think of Ramadan, I think of it as a New Year's, right? What happens in New Year's? Everybody makes a resolution, right? This is my New Year's resolution. Da, da, da. Some people stick to it. Most of them, it's like impulsive. Oh, this is my New Year's resolution. Da, 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 da. And then 1 week, 2 weeks, they're still good. 1 month, they're done, right? Ramadan is kind of that way. So for this past Ramadan, have you guys made any life altering changes, behaviors that you would like to continue to see till next Ramadan? And if yes, what is that one behavior that you have changed and that you hope to, inshallah, continue to act on that behavior?
That's to me, bro. That's one of the biggest things I take from Ramadan. I don't ever want to go into Ramadan with the expectation of I'm going to have a Ramadan identity, and then after Ramadan, literally the day of Eid, oh well, Ramadan's over. I guess I go back to my old way. I don't want that. Wow. So the most important thing for me every Ramadan is I always start with the expectation of after Ramadan. That is my mindset. I actually don't look at Ramadan while I'm in it as Ramadan. I look at Ramadan as what is this Ramadan going to do that is going to make the guy after Ramadan to continue maybe either some things that he started this Ramadan or some things that he continued before that he maybe took to another level. I think that's a huge one. I don't ever, like, the main focus for Ramadan for me is just to continue either good habits that I started before Ramadan and continue it, or start habits that I know I can continue. So for example, like in a practical setting, right? I don't go into Ramadan thinking I'm going to read, 10 juz a day. Because Ramadan, I'm just going to read. No. Even if I were to read 2 pages a day, but I know I'll continue that 2 pages, I'd rather do that. I don't like to have Ramadan goals. I like to have either new habits that I continue or habits that I already started and like make sure you take it to another level in Ramadan. So that's a huge one for me, to never treat Ramadan like just a 30-day challenge.
I love it. Yeah, it's like I like to use basketball as a reference a lot, right? So I guess in a way it could be like during past basketball practice or the scrimmages, the habits or the skills that you hone in on during the practice, you don't want to just leave it at practice and just impress your teammates and whatnot.
Yeah, right. It has to translate into the game.
Exactly. You want to carry it into the rest of the season, going deep into the playoffs and continue with every game. You perfect it and you become better at it, right? Something like that.
Absolutely.
I love it.
One thing I always love and appreciate about Ramadan is how, as a family, we all get together and at the end of the night, we enjoy our meal. We have quality bonding time with each other. We chit chat, we laugh, we tell jokes, we, debate, we argue. And you guys know how huge my family is. So when all of us are together during Ramadan, it's that one rare occasion where we all get together like this and we all enjoy time together like this. That doesn't happen all the other 11 months of the year. And so for me, my goal is always to try my best to carry that into the rest of the year. So what that ends up looking like for me is when you're having meals, have them at the table or have them in the common area instead of taking my food back with me to my room. It means go sit on the couch and try to enjoy the time that you have with your people instead of secluding myself in my room. Those are probably the habits that I always practice during Ramadan that I would like to carry with me outside of Ramadan.
I love that. Man, your family is one huge family. And when I think about your family, bro, I can't help but just in awe and admiration of your mom
Oh man,
and her strength, man.
yeah,
That lady, even right now as a grandma, she is cooking and fixing a hot plate for like 50 people of y'all's, man.
she's a champion, bro.
She is a
She's
champion.
a champion, bro. I told you in the last podcast, man. Ain't
You did, you
not a lot
did.
of people stronger than my mom.
Man, I agree to that. That is the truth, man. God bless your mom. I do miss her food, though. I do miss her food.
Yeah, she still got
Yeah,
it, man.
man.
You would think, with old age, you start messing up on the recipes and stuff, but nah,
Yeah. Yeah, she still got it.
still got it, bro.
But man, Saleh, you touched on something that actually was gonna lead on to my next question, which is what is something special about experiencing Ramadan with friends, right? Your family and even the wider Muslim community. You touched on the family aspect of it. Muhammad, you can chime in on it as well. Um, Especially for us, here in the community, we have a big Muslim community, right? And in Houston, I'm talking about, right? We go to the centers for iftar. So, and that's a special. Sometimes we like to stay home, have that intimate moment just with amongst ourselves. And sometimes we go to the wider community. How has your guys' been Ramadan? Like, what is something special about it? About breaking the bread with your fellow believers or even family members?
So me, I'm a pretty like reserved guy for the most part. So I don't go outside of my home to break fast and to do any kind of worship or anything like that. And part of the reason being is because I have a huge family, 12 brothers and sisters, so I don't particularly feel the need to go and celebrate with others. But although I do recognize that it can be a profound experience. Sometimes when I go to Jum'ah prayer, Friday prayer, me and the guys go, and just that feeling of having all the energy in one gathering, all these people gathering and sharing this energy with this one intention to worship. In the case of prayer, is a very profound experience. The atmosphere, the energy in the atmosphere is almost palpable. You can feel it. And so I can imagine in the same way when you go to the mosque for iftar and everyone is there and everyone is sharing their first meal of the day and they're all, praising Allah for the fact that they can have that one meal a day. And not only that they can have that one meal a day, that they can share it with so many people is also a profound experience. It kind of reminds me, and not that let me preface this with saying there's nothing miserable about it, but it almost reminds me of that quote that goes, "Misery loves company." But blessings also love company. Happiness also loves company, So the more the merrier, they say.
Yeah, to add on to it, I would say that the fact that in Ramadan everyone is fasting, so it's not just that you're having a meal with your family or your friends or community, but it's like you guys shared a trial together. And you guys, you shared the challenge together. And you get to enjoy the fruits of that together.
Yeah.
It gives an extra
Absolutely,
joy,
yeah.
I think. It brings an extra beautiful energy in the gathering that only Ramadan can bring.
Imagine when you're playing like basketball, right, with your boys, and you guys are going hard, right? And then it's the ball goes out of bounds, or there's a timeout called, or the game just ended. The pickup game of 21 or whatever you guys are playing just ended. Everyone's gassed. And someone goes and grabs a water bottle, takes a sip, and then passes it to the next guy. You know what I mean? That sip of water, it's everything.
Right, for sure. I love it. Now, Muhammad, you said something about challenge and, I wanted to ask you because Ramadan, while full of blessings, it's not shortage of challenges either, right? It's very difficult to abstain from water. For the most part, I think food we can handle a little bit better than the water, right? Thirst gets to you, really gets to you, right? What are some difficulties, some challenges you have faced during Ramadan and how you've overcome those?
To me, honestly, again, what I was saying earlier, my biggest challenge is the tiredness. Um, it's hard to work and stay dedicated to your work when you just want to take a nap. Like you're fighting the nap, you're fighting the energy. Like, okay, if I take a nap at right now, I'm probably not gonna start on time, or I'm probably gonna be late to this. I'm not gonna. That's been my biggest challenge. The energy. Other than the energy, subhanallah, like I always say, I truly believe Allah Azza's mercy and blessings is showering so much in the month of Ramadan that the other things are actually easier for me. They're not as challenging. The food and water isn't as hard. The thirst is, for me, you're right, more than the food. I would agree on that. But even the thirst isn't, it doesn't really like, oh man, I can't wait to drink. Like some days maybe, right? But for the most part, I would say it's the energy, it's the energy, it's the energy. And it just makes me think of the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny. How they would sometimes be traveling in the heat with all their armor and everything on in the month of Ramadan. So I don't have to do heavy labor. But just the mere fact of like, how do they do this without energy? And you're like, where are they getting the energy from? So it just forces you to dig down deep, I would say. The challenge of like, you have to almost like question yourself and question what are you truly capable of. Because if you're tired and you still have to do all these things, then maybe you're able to do them anyway.
For me, it would be it's more of a spiritual kind of thing for me. I want to, or during Ramadan, I've been having like more spiritual questions, trying to get more clarity and get more answers to some of the questions that we always have. Where do we come from? How are we supposed to be? What's right? What's wrong? These kind of questions are always in the forefront of my mind, regardless of whether it's Ramadan or not. But during Ramadan, I'm almost like forced to face these questions because I feel like I'm in a space where everything kind of comes to light. And so for me, what I would like to do and the experience that I've been having or that I've had during Ramadan is addressing these, pondering on these, thinking about these kind of questions even more. And then what inevitably starts happening is once Ramadan ends, once it's ended, you're kind of like, okay, well, everything can just kind of get washed away and get back to normal life. I stopped thinking about these as heavily as I would like to. The deep introspection kind of slows down. Well, I would like for that to not happen. I would like to keep my spiritual journey, so to speak, going.
Excellent. That's a beautiful goal. That is definitely a very beautiful and a noble goal because, again, it's easy to get complacent as soon as Ramadan ends. But along those lines of, having those deep reflective thoughts and what have you, Salah, if you could give your younger self one piece of Ramadan advice, what would it be?
That's a good one. Stop sneaking into the garage to eat food. No, just kidding. Just kidding. It's not as hard to abstain from food and water as you think it is. It's not as hard. There's more to gain from the abstaining from food and water than there is to lose. Um, trust yourself. You can do it. Allah's got your back. There's so much, like, so many things I've learned throughout the years, um, that if I had known back then, I probably wouldn't be as much of a doofus as I was back then when it came to Ramadan. You know, but we're kids. You know, you're young. You try to get away with things. So, um, but yeah, like there's just so much wisdom you learn throughout trial and error of Ramadan, I guess. You know, and so yeah, I would tell myself, God's got your back. You can do it. It's not as hard as you think, and you get a lot more from fasting during Ramadan than you lose from fasting during Ramadan.
Son, I love it. God's got your back. What about you? Who's got your back?
My Lord, the one and only. Ah, man, bro, I'm 27, but I honestly can't remember Ramadan as a kid. Uh, I don't remember that 10-year-old, 12-year-old boy experiencing Ramadan as much. It's just kind of freaky. But if I were to try to really think I mean, I don't remember Ramadan as a kid. I don't know. I used to think Ramadan was kind of cool, honestly. The food and the water, even as a kid, I just thought we're Muslims. This is what we do. So that boy, I'm trying to think of like how that boy used to look at Ramadan. I guess what I would tell him. Okay, this is what I would tell him. I would tell him that Ramadan, the food and water, is actually not what Ramadan is about. That Ramadan is it's an environment builder. It's an environment. It's building an environment for you to grow and to develop into the person that you want to be. Don't just think of Ramadan as just, hey, I stay away from food and water, but think about Ramadan as a transformation experience.
On that note, that concludes our topic for today. However, we're not done with the episode. You know, both of you have actually been to the podcast before. Muhammad, you honored us by actually being among the first guests that we invited, and where we honored Lady Fatima Zahra. So now I'm going to come back to you. The way we end the program, you know, is we ask you one last question that is separate from the topic, and that is, what is your message to humanity?
My message to humanity is life is all about growth. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mulk, that He created death and life in order to test us, to see which one of us can have the best deeds. And I would say that another portions of the Quran, He also talks about that all human beings have is their efforts. That's what they have to show Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you combine beliefs with efforts and actions, and you just live your life with that kind of mentality of, I'm just going to believe in my Lord, I'm going to try my best to live the way that I think He wants me to live based off of His guidance, that's it. Just try to become that, and just be super locked in and focused on that.
And Salah, what is your message to humanity?
My message to humanity would be that truth is often obscured, and it's hard to discern what is truth and what is not. And so, with that being said, never stop seeking the truth and apply yourself to finding what the truth is. The truth for you, the truth for your neighbors, and the truth for reality.
Ahsant, I love you. I love it. I love it. I mean, I love you too, but I love your answer. That was really very two profound answers. Those messages really hit me, especially about, you know, seeking the truth and never stopping it, and then coupling that with the a'mal, the actions, the tawfiq, the yaqeen and the efforts all coupled together. Inshallah, Allah will give us much success in both worlds. In both worlds. So Alhamdulillah, this conversation has shown us, as you can see, that Ramadan is beyond just abstaining from food and water. It's really for a way to connect within ourselves, with our Creator, and within the broader community that we belong to. May Allah accept all of our fasts and our a'mal and du'as, and may He grant us all of our hajat. Allahumma ameen. I want to thank you so much, Muhammad.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Absolutely. Salah, thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. It's an honor to be here. I had a great time.
So did I. So did I. Appreciate you guys coming. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And for us, our dear viewers and listeners, we would love to hear from you as well. And we wanted to know what has been your biggest Ramadan takeaway this year. Go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And let's continue the conversation. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your circle of friends and family so we can, inshallah, continue as Imam Sadiq alayhi salam expects from us, continue to revive the affairs of Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam ajma'een. Join us next time, inshallah, for more fruitful and spiritually uplifting conversations. Until then, I'm your host, King Abu, saying so long, and remember to treat each other with kindness. Assalamu alaikum.